And the first wiring process with cover off is we're going to need a wiring extension on the motor. And you can see we've already done it here. The easiest way to do this is desolder the original ones that ended right here where this tape is. You want to add 3 inches of wire. You will have extra wire on your motors that we send with our kit. So snap 3 inches off. You're going to solder here. In this case we did red and blue, red and blue to black. Okay, in this portion what we've done is we went ahead and put the electronics box right here. We're going to begin our wiring process. I've taken the cover open. We've marked this the cover open, which is CN16 on your board. So we're going to go ahead and plug this into CN16 on the board right here. I've taken it out of these clips because this actually goes all the way around to the front and into our cover open sensor. But we control this electronically now. So what we're going to do is you'll have 2 wires from your kit that look like this. And you're going to take the shortest one, and that one is going to plug right in here in our Dozer board that says cover. That's the cover open sensor. And the idea is we're going to take and we're going to splice. We're going to cut here. Cut the original one off. Separate these 2 wires so you know what you're looking at. There's a polarity that you have to follow. So we got these 2 wires coming out of CN16, cover open. And the same with this. Give yourself enough slack. Cut this a little long. And we're just going to solder after we strip these. I'm going to strip both ends and we're going to solder these together. The polarity, how the polarity works on this is looking from the back, this right side goes to the top. And I'll separate these just for viewing. On the cover, where it says cover, this wire here is going to go to the right side of the cover open. So we're going to strip these and we're going to solder that, and it's the same on the other one. So you'll take the bottom one, strip them, solder them. Okay, you can see that we went ahead and we've soldered this wire together and taped it up. Obviously, when you tape it, you don't want these connections touching, and it's always a good idea to put a twist in the wire. And what that does is it controls inductance for signal purposes. This particular, on the P600, the cover open is a hard wire. It's going to be different on the R3000. The R3000 is actually a flat cable, and you're going to have to pick it up in the front here to solder that. So you will have in our kit a very long wire. Of course you don't need that for the P600 because we're going direct here, but on the R3000, 1400, you'll take the long wire, put it back into the connectors, and you'll do your solder connection in the front. Alright, next step is we have 2 connections here. We have they're labeled here, the yellow and the black, and these are both sensors on the original printer that we are not going to use and we're going to modify. This one here has a yellow connector, and plugs in here. It's a front sensor. You can see I've actually kept the sensor off here for the body. You do nothing with that. You're unplugging it. This connector stays empty. On this black one, this is also a sensor that goes to the rear, and you can see what we've done here is we've snipped it, and we're jumping this wire. So we've snipped it right here, so you can throw this portion away, and we've jumped that wire. And what I mean by jump is we're completing a circuit. So then you're going to connect those 2 wires together, solder them, plug it in, and that is complete. Next up is we're going to take the flat cable that we plugged into our ASF relay board, and we're going to plug it into the Dozer board. And you'll notice here it says to ASF relay board. And just make sure that your pins are facing the correct direction. And we're just going to go ahead and plug that in. And always a good idea as you're working on this to make sure, double check these plugs after we plug them back in. Next step is we're going to take the other flat cable in the kit and we're going to plug it in right next to this. This is the ASF signals that were picked off here. Make sure you plug it in the right direction. And this one is going to go to the Epson main board in the CN6 slot right here. And you're going to make sure that those pins are incorrect. And what we've did here, basic overview, is originally there was a very short flat cable that came out of this relay board and went directly to the Epson board. So what you're doing is we're taking an extension from the relay board to the Dozer board where we read a bunch of signals and stuff that Epson's doing, and then we take these and it's going back to the Epson board so it functions just as normally. Our next step is you're going to take all these cables, the hard ones first, the hard wires, and you've labeled the numbers, and we're going to plug them back into their corresponding spot. And we're going to do the same with all the flat cables that we've unplugged. So what we've done so far at this point is we're replugging in these hard wires, and that includes the CR motor power and also the capping station. And you've labeled all of these previously and they're color coded. So you'll see all these are now plugged in, and the only ones that you will have blank is this one right here, which is the I don't have my glasses on. Oh, it's the last one here on the board, and this goes to the picture plug in the front if you were to plug in a camera. We don't use that. And also this one is blank, which is the ASF motor. We don't use the paper tray or ASF. We control that electronically on our board. Leave that blank. And again, this yellow plug here, which was a front sensor, we don't use that. Leave that unplugged. And you notice we went ahead and also plugged in our Wi-Fi board here. And that's going to mount back in the original location, but we're not going to mount that yet until we get the rest of this wire and lift it up. So next step is, you'll notice on our board, we have 2 open spots left, and there's two wires left in our kit. This is the load button. So that button, that wire is the next longest wire. It's very similar to the ones you've already plugged in here. So we're just going to plug that in, and on the other end, when we attach to our base, we're actually going to wire a button into this. But you just want to pull this over on the side through here so it comes out of the way. And then we have one last cable that we're going to plug in here, which is our new, this one here, and it's going to plug right in this position like that, and you're going to run these out to the side over here as well for now. And what this is it's our motor. It's the industrial motor that we use to run the Platin system. So we're going to hook the other end to our motor in the base portion of the videos. But again, basically all we're doing is we're taking signals, converting them, interpreting them, and running them to our own control system. Finally, after you have those 2 plugged in, we're going to finish plugging in the rest of these flat cables, and then we'll pick up after that. We've gone ahead and finished plugging in all the flat cables, and very important that you see which direction the pins are on the connectors. These are all labeled on the flat cable, and they're also labeled on the board. Very difficult to mix those up. It has happened to some people. Pay very close attention when you're plugging those in, that they're plugged in the right way and they're all secure. Double check your connections, that they're plugged in. And you can see we've gone ahead and kind of tidied up just a little bit. We put some tape pieces just to keep the wires together and neat. Same with a few on the flat cables here. Same with the 2 cables that go to the capping station and the CR motor. We've went ahead and reinstalled the Wi-Fi board in its original position. There's the screw already put in place. And the idea is now we've already did our top for the mounting these electronics, but you can see here, we'll lift this up. You want to make sure this wire is down in here when you mount it. But this is what you're going to have when we put it together. And these wires will come and hang out the bottom because one's a load and the rest are the motor for the base. So what we're going to do is go ahead and dry foot. We're going to put the cover back on, mount the electronics to show you how it looks complete. Okay, you can see we went ahead and put the cover back on and put the screws back in it. Here's the one front screw, the one rear screw. Same thing on this side, one front, one rear. We went ahead and mounted our electronics back into the top that we'd already mounted. The 2 screws here are in. And if you'll notice, this is like a rock. It's one of the best mounting designs that we've came up with to not have to be very complex with mounting shelves and brackets and that nature, using everything original Epson. So very strong. The cover will come off separately. When you disconnect here, you can just leave the electronics down and the whole cover can come off. You can work on it very easily. You'll see how the flat cables are in here. And we've taken our wires, our motor wires and our load button, and we've ran them down here out of the way right now. You'll notice we have some double-sided tape on here, and this is to mount the cover back on. Strictly cosmetic. You don't have to do this, but it looks nice. So we've already put, we use the VHB 3M double-sided tape, very strong. Got it started. Just go ahead and peel this off. This will come off with the whole cover once you do this, so there's no worries. Just be careful when you're putting it on that you have it lined up. It's pretty sticky. Line it up. Whoop. And of course I got off a little bit here. So now that that's on, it's permanent, because when you lift the whole cover off when you're working on this printer for whatever reason, it'll come with it. Strictly cosmetic.